Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I never actually meant it. That's the part that loops on repeat now, more than the silence, more than the way he didn't slam the door or even look back. Just the fact that I said it first. Like some idiot reading from a script I thought I could control. Maybe we need a break. Calm. Deliberate. Like I was proposing a spa weekend. I'm Ava. 31. Marketing project manager, conflict avoidant unless I feel like I'm not being seen. And until a few weeks ago, I lived with a man who made my tea the way I like it without asking. Mason. Everyone's favorite golden retriever boyfriend. You'd like him. Everyone did. And for a long time, I did too. Not just liked, loved. In that slow-burning way where love isn't fireworks, but something more useful. Like heat. Reliable and always there when you needed it. We met at a mutual friend's housewarming. He was pouring drinks and mispronouncing Lagavulin, and I was already tipsy enough to correct him like a snob. He laughed, not offended, and 20 minutes later, we were deep in a debate about whether Die Hard counts as a Christmas movie. Fast forward 4 years, and we had our little apartment with string lights on the balcony and a shared Netflix profile full of sci-fi I pretended to like for his sake. He did the laundry. I handled groceries. He rubbed my back when I got stress headaches. I helped him rehearse presentations for client meetings. We were that couple, cooperative, low drama, a team. Until I started feeling like a ghost inside my own life. It wasn't anything he did, not really. Just this creeping sense that I was shrinking, becoming this domestic version of myself who no longer had opinions unless asked. He'd still smile when I walked into a room, but it didn't light me up the way it used to. Our conversations started looping, the same jokes, the same check-ins, the same old patterns. We weren't fighting, and maybe that was the problem. You ever feel like something's too calm? I remember this one night. I came home buzzing from a brainstorming session at work, one of those rare days where everything clicked, and I had that intoxicating sense that I was actually good at what I do. I walked through the door, excited to tell him about it, and he was already on the couch half asleep, the TV humming in the background. "Hey," I said, dropping my bag. He smiled, muted the show. "Hey, babe. How was your day?" And I told him about the pitch, the new client, how I finally stood up to that smug new hire who always interrupts me. I needed him to be hyped with me. To say, "That's my girl," or at least match my energy. But all he said was, "Nice. Proud of you." It wasn't bad. But it also wasn't enough. I brushed it off. Told myself I was just in a mood. But these moments started stacking. Birthday dinners where he let me pick the place but didn't even put on cologne. Little anniversaries where he'd bring home my favorite Thai but eat it distractedly while scrolling his phone. Sex that felt more like maintenance than connection. I started wondering if I was being ungrateful. Then I started wondering if maybe I was just bored. And if I was bored, didn't I owe it to both of us to shake things up? Enter Hannah, my best friend and part-time devil on my shoulder. We were 2 margaritas deep on a Thursday when I vented, soft, harmless things at first. How Mason never initiates anymore. How I miss feeling wanted. How I couldn't remember the last time he really surprised me. She tilted her head. "Maybe you should stir the pot." I laughed. Like start a fight? No, but like, see what happens if you pull back a little. Let him wonder. The idea simmered. Not maliciously, at least, not at first. I didn't want to hurt him. I just wanted confirmation. I wanted to know I still mattered enough to unsettle him. That if I ever did leave, he wouldn't just sigh and go back to his podcast. So when he forgot to transfer me his half of the utility bill again, I didn't let it slide. I waited until dinner, until he was relaxed, and I brought it up with a sharpness I knew would catch him off guard. "You forgot the Venmo again." He blinked. "Oh, crap, yeah. I'll do it now." I didn't let it go. "It's not just that. It's everything. You forget everything lately." He looked up, fork halfway to his mouth. "That's not fair." I shrugged. Neither is feeling like I live with a roommate who pays late. That stung. I saw it. He put his fork down. Ava, I've had a rough week. Can you not turn this into something bigger? I crossed my arms. It is something bigger. We don't talk anymore. We don't do anything spontaneous. It's like we're already 70. Now he looked frustrated. So, what do you want? A date night? A puppy? I don't know what you're asking. And I said it. Quiet. Even. Maybe we need a break. Just like that. He looked at me for a long moment, expression unreadable, eyes searching mine like he was trying to figure out if I was serious. And then he stood up, walked to the hook by the door, took his coat, slid on his shoes. I opened my mouth to say, what exactly? I didn't even know. But before I could speak, he stepped outside and closed the door behind him. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, waiting to hear the key rattle in the lock again, thinking maybe he'd left something in the hallway, his phone, his temper, his senses, and was coming back. Any second now. Because that's how these things go, right? You say something dramatic, they walk out for effect, and then circle back. Cue the big apology. The heart-pounding conversation. The I can't lose you line. But no. Just stillness. The kind that makes you feel like even the fridge is holding its breath. I sat down on the couch and checked my phone. Nothing. No text, no call. I opened Instagram like a reflex, scrolled through some meaningless stories, engagements, gym selfies, a meme about being low maintenance, but still needing to be worshipped, and then I just stared at the screen, hoping his name would pop up. By the time midnight rolled around, I was oscillating between stubborn pride and rising panic. Maybe he'd gone to cool off. Maybe he was testing me now. Maybe he was sitting in his car drafting a carefully worded message about boundaries and respect and how I hurt him. Maybe he'd walked to Jake's apartment, venting about how his girlfriend threw out a fake breakup like it was nothing. But what if it wasn't a test? That's when the anxiety bloomed. The next morning, his side of the bed was still untouched. The blanket was folded back the same way he always left it after making the bed half-heartedly. His water glass was still on the nightstand, but the charger was gone. So was his work bag, the stuff you take when you know you're not coming back in the morning. I texted him once. Just once. Hey, can we talk? Left it at that. Because anything more would sound like backpedaling, and I wasn't ready to play the one who panics first. He didn't respond. I went to work like a zombie, nodding through meetings, pretending to take notes, forgetting what the meeting was about 10 seconds after it ended. I kept my phone face up on the desk all day, which I never do. Still nothing. When I got home, his sneakers were gone too. That's when I knew he'd come back while I was at the office. He'd come back and deliberately taken more things. Not everything. Just enough. To make it clear. That night, I called Hannah. Wait, he left? She asked, like I'd said aliens abducted him. I think so. But he didn't even argue? Nope. Silence on the other end. Then, okay, but maybe he's just trying to make a point. Guys do that. Give it a day. It's funny, when you make a big move expecting someone else to chase, you don't imagine what happens if they turn around and walk faster in the opposite direction. I waited another day. Still nothing. And suddenly, this thing I said to gain control, to spark some urgency, was morphing into something terrifyingly real. My maybe we need a break was echoing back with no punctuation. No clarity. Just space. By Friday, I broke my silence. I sent a longer message. I didn't mean that the way it sounded. I just needed you to react. I needed to feel like you still cared. Can we please talk? Still no response. I didn't cry. Not yet. Crying would have made it real. I just kept busy. Cleaned the spice drawer. Washed the windows. Did yoga I hadn't done in months. Texted him again the next night, this time just please, and then deleted it 10 minutes later before it showed as delivered. He hadn't blocked me. He just wasn't answering. And somehow that hurt more. By the end of the first week, I couldn't pretend anymore. Not to myself, not to the group, Not even to my own reflection, which had started avoiding eye contact with me in the mirror. What started as a controlled burn, a break to spark urgency, was now a wildfire I couldn't put out. At first, I kept telling myself Mason just needed a few days. That he'd come back after he cooled down, maybe ready to talk things out. I'd even started practicing my lines in the shower. I didn't mean it like that. We were both stressed. I just wanted to feel something again. But that window was closing. Fast. And the world around me was shifting. The first red flag came midweek when Nick, one of Mason's oldest friends, texted me directly. We weren't close, friendly in a group setting, sure, but this wasn't a hey, how are you kind of guy. Hey, I don't want to overstep, but is everything okay with you and Mace? I sat with it for a solid 10 minutes before responding. Just taking some space right now. Nothing dramatic. He replied with emoji. No follow-up. Just that stupid little emoji that somehow said, I know you're lying, but I won't call you on it. And from then on, things felt off. Our usual Saturday trivia night came up. We'd RSVP'd weeks ago as Ava and Mason, and I figured I'd still show up, partly because I didn't want people asking questions, and partly because I stupidly thought maybe Mason would show up too, and we'd just fall back into step like none of this happened. But around 3 p.m. that day, Taylor, our group chat admin/social wrangler, texted me privately. Hey, just a heads up, we're switching trivia night to tie instead. You still coming? Should I expect Mason too? I stared at the message. Should I expect Mason too? Translation, we already know he's not coming. I tapped out a neutral reply. I think I'll skip tonight, long week. Hope it's fun. 15 minutes later, Rachel called. She doesn't do texts when there's drama, she wants voice inflection, background noise, evidence. So, she said, no greeting, just full speed ahead. What happened? I didn't play dumb. We're on a break. Did he say that or did you? Me. But it wasn't like that. I just said it in the middle of a fight. And he left. Okay, she said slowly, drawing the word out like a bridge to something worse. Because Nick told Jamie that Mason's been crashing at his cousin's place. And that he's not sure if he's coming back. I blinked. Wait, what? And look, don't shoot the messenger, but apparently, he said something like, if she wanted space, she can have it. That stung. Like lemon juice in a paper cut. Is he talking about it like we're done? I asked, voice smaller than I liked. Rachel paused. I think he's trying to figure out what done looks like. I didn't respond. And Ava, she softened. You didn't mean it, right? No, I said quickly. I just wanted him to show he still cared. You know, fight a little. Rachel exhaled, not unkindly. He did, babe. Just not the way you expected. The call ended, but my shame stayed. Later that night, I watched their Instagram stories. Laughing faces. Clinking glasses. Takeout containers spread across Taylor's table. Everyone from our circle, -2, me and Mason. I started typing a caption for a post I'd never publish. Something vague and poetic, like timing is a savage editor or lessons hit hardest in silence. I backspaced every letter. The silence kept stretching. The next morning, I went to make coffee and saw his mug on the top shelf, the one that said no talkie before coffee. He bought it as a joke after our second date when I snapped at him for humming while I was half asleep. I used to hate that mug. Now I just hated the empty space beside it. I pulled it down, poured my coffee into it like a peace offering, and sat at the table trying to imagine what I'd say if he walked through the door. I didn't mean it. I just wanted a reaction. I miss you. I picked up my phone and texted all three. No response. I gave it 9 days. 9 long, pathetic, emotionally dehydrated days before I cracked and called him. I had this whole speech planned, short, vulnerable, honest, but not desperate. I even practiced it in the mirror. Twice. It was going to sound like the healthy, self-aware version of me who learns from her mistakes. Not the girl who picks fake fights for attention. He didn't answer. Straight to voicemail. The robotic voice was jarring. The person you're trying to reach is unavailable. Please leave a message after the tone. So I did. Hey, it's me. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to say I'm sorry. I said something reckless because I wanted to feel like I still mattered to you, and that's not fair. You didn't deserve that. And I miss you. A lot. I ended the call and stared at the phone like it owed me something. A ding. A text. Anything. But it just sat there. Dead quiet. By then, even my friends had stopped asking for updates. Rachel was the only one still semi-invested, and even she had started softening her tone into that moving on is okay kind of supportive that makes you want to scream. I knew I needed a reset. Something to jolt me out of the mess. So I started doing that thing people do when they're trying to pretend they're okay. Deep cleaning. New skincare routine. Yoga at sunrise like some reformed narcissist in an indie film. I even re-downloaded Duolingo. Thought maybe I'd learn Italian. Why? Who knows? Maybe so I could say I ruined my own life in a more romantic language. One night, I opened the Notes app on my phone and started writing a letter I knew I'd never send. I wrote about the first time he called me kiddo during an argument, trying to diffuse tension with gentleness, and how I rolled my eyes at it then, but secretly loved it. I wrote about the way he always flipped my pillow to the cool side when I fell asleep on the couch. The way he made me playlists for different moods, rainy days, long drives, Sunday grocery runs. I wrote until the screen blurred. And then, against every ounce of pride I had left, I called his mom. We'd always gotten along. I'd helped her plan his surprise 30th. She texted me links to weird kitchen gadgets even after Mason and I moved in together. She used to joke I was the daughter she never had. She answered on the third ring. Ava, she said, cautiously warm. Hi. I don't mean to make things awkward. Have you heard from Mason? A pause. He's okay. Is he staying with you? No. He's at his cousin's. I think he just needs some time. I swallowed. I know. I messed up. I didn't mean to hurt him. I was just trying to. I don't know. Wake him up. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then, sweetheart, you don't shake someone awake by pushing them off the bed. The words hit me like a slap. I'm sorry, I whispered. I know. But he's trying to protect himself now. He's not angry, just done being confused. That last part stung worse than any voicemail silence. When we hung up, I sat there frozen, staring at a pile of folded laundry on the couch. One of the t-shirts still smelled like him. Like cedar and coffee beans and the stupid pomade he always overused. I sniffed it like an addict. Later that night, I walked by the framed photo in our hallway, the one from our trip to Seattle, where we stood in front of the Pike Place Market sign, grinning like idiots. I remember how it rained that whole trip and how we didn't care. How he bought me a bouquet of soggy tulips from a street vendor and said, "Let's do this forever, okay?" So when I finally texted him again, after deleting and rewriting the message a dozen times, I kept it simple. Still thinking about forever. Still sorry. This was the moment I realized sorry wasn't a spell. It was a tombstone. For the version of us that never should have had to beg. It's been 5 weeks. And no, he hasn't called. He hasn't texted. He hasn't liked any posts or accidentally watched my story. I stopped checking after week 2, mostly because the silence stopped feeling like a cliffhanger and started feeling like the ending itself. He's not punishing me. He's protecting himself. That's the part one finally understand. Because when someone shows you over and over that they're committed, that they're steady, and you treat that steadiness like it's expendable, you don't get a second curtain call. You don't get to say, okay, but now I'm ready to be serious. And you definitely don't get to act surprised when they don't look back. The group hasn't outright chosen sides, but there's a quiet shift I can feel. Fewer invites. Shorter replies. The sense that people aren't quite sure how to be Switzerland without betraying one of us. Rachel still texts, but it's more "you doing okay?" than "let's go out." Everyone else is polite but distant. Even my own sister, who adored Mason, now avoids saying his name in front of me. I don't blame them. Last week, I bumped into Nick at the farmer's market. He was polite, cordial, and quick to mention he was just grabbing a few things for Mason before I even asked. A preemptive truth. No openings for questions. I nodded, pretended I was running late, and walked the long way home. That night, I found one of Mason's socks in the dryer. I stared at it like it was a piece of evidence in a case I was clearly losing. I almost folded it and set it aside. Almost texted him a photo. Thought better of it and stuffed it in the back of the drawer where I keep loose batteries and expired coupons. The worst part? I still talk to him sometimes. In my head, anyway. I'll be watching a dumb commercial and think he would have hated this. Or I'll be walking past the deli where we used to grab sandwiches after Sunday errands and remember how he always ordered the same exact thing and still read the menu like he might change his mind. Sometimes I'll think of something I want to tell him, something small, like how I finally organized my closet or how I accidentally deleted my Spotify playlists, and I'll instinctively reach for my phone. Then I remember. I made myself forget. And now I don't know how to unforget without making it worse. I tried therapy. One session, anyway. The counselor asked me what I'd hoped to accomplish with the break, and I said I wanted to feel chosen. She tilted her head. And now? I feel left. She nodded like that made perfect sense. Sometimes we try to force others to prove something to us that we haven't even figured out how to give ourselves. I didn't go back. But the line stuck. I keep thinking about how quiet the goodbye was. No yelling. No crying. Just him grabbing his coat and closing the door. And now that I've sat in the silence long enough, I think I get it. He loved me, but he loved himself too. And when I stopped treating him like something to hold on to and started treating him like a mirror for my own insecurity, he did the hardest thing a good man can do. He left. Not to punish. Not to make a point. But because he finally believed I'd made my choice. And maybe I did. I'll always wonder what would have happened if I'd just talked to him that night instead of testing him. If I'd said, "I'm scared you're not in this like I am," instead of throwing out an emotional grenade and waiting for the fireworks. But that's the thing about fake breakups. Sometimes the other person believes you. And sometimes the door you expect them to reopen stays shut. So, if there's a takeaway here, something I'd tell the version of me that stood in that living room with her arms crossed and her heart guarded, it's this. Don't gamble real love just to prove it exists. Because not everyone waits on the other side of a bluff. Some people walk, and some people don't come back.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.